Okay guys, today we are going to talk about ratios, unit rates, and proportions. You have already actually talked about this in project time. It might have been a while, but that's okay. We are going to quickly go over each one of them, and then you will practice some, and then do your check for understanding, and then move on to the next checkpoint or objective. So, today we're going to talk about ratios, unit rates, and proportions. Let's begin with what a ratio is. A ratio, as you hopefully know by now, sorry about that guys, is a comparison of two different quantities. Okay? So it's two different quantities. So we're just comparing two different things. So for example, boys to girls. In this case down here we have animals. So they're comparing animals. It's just two different quantities. That is what a ratio is. Normally, they are in fraction form. I'm going to write it over here, okay, so you can see the three different ways. And I'm going to use boys to girls as an example. So you can write it in fraction form, which would be boys to girls. You can write it using a colon. So boys to girls. And then you can write it as using the word to. So boys to girls. These are the three different ways you might see a ratio written. We're going to write all three for each one. And so you kind of see them three different ways each time. Okay? So we're going to use this table, and we're going to use these different ratios. They're already written in word form. So you write it exactly as you see it, okay? So in this case, it's lions to elephants. Well, lions to elephants. To help you, it's lions to elephants. Okay, so we have how many lions? 9. And how many elephants? 12. So 9 over 12. 9 colon 12. 9 to 12. All right? Next is giraffes to otters. So giraffes to otters. So giraffes is 8, otters is 16. So 8 over 16. 8 colon 16. Oh, I'm sorry, that's a 9. And 8 to 16. Okay, I always do this so you can just see this is the order you're going to do it. Guys, if it's asking lions to elephants, you can't do elephants to lions. It's not the same thing. It's two different things. So, next is lions to seals. So we have lions is 9, seals is 10. So 9 to 10, 9 to 10. Pretty simple. I hope this kind of rings a bell for you. Again, ratios are two comparing quantities. You're comparing two different things. If you want, you can definitely try these by yourself to make sure you get them right. You can check with your teacher or something like that just to confirm that you did them correctly. Let's go ahead and move down to unit rates. We're going to skip this part right here because you kind of can use this for proportion. But we're going to skip down and we're going to go to unit rates, and we'll come back to this after we discuss proportions, okay? So with doing unit rates is a special ratio. Well, what's a ratio? A ratio is comparing two quantities. So it is a special comparison, I guess you could say, that usually involves, most of the time you're going to deal with speed and time here. You'll do like the best by. I mean, these are normally the way you see these. And what I mean by speed and time, it's like going to be so many hours per minute, stuff like that. That's the kind of ways you'll see this. Now, your quantity, the quantity in the denominator is always 1. Okay? So your goal is always 1 because unit means 1. So we always want to know how much it is for 1. You won't always be given that. If you're given that, great, that's your unit rate. But if you're not given that, then you need to figure out what that is. So, let's start here. Let's start with what our ratio is. What are we talking about? What are the two things we're comparing? We're comparing miles and hours, right? So we have M over H for miles and hours. So we have 300 miles for every 6 hours. So 300 miles for every 6 hours. Now, remember, the goal is to... Sorry about that, guys. The goal is to get the denominator to 1. So something divided by 6 will give me 1. Well, if you don't know what that is, it's 6. Any number divided by itself is 1. And if you do it to the bottom, you have to do it to the top. So that's going to be 1. So now we have our 1. And 300 divided by 6 is 50. So this tells me that every 50 miles, it takes 1 hour. So here, for every 300 miles, it takes 6 hours. But if we get our 1 for our unit rate, it's every 50 miles is 1 hour. Pretty good? All right, let's try the next one. So we're talking about square feet. I'm going to abbreviate it. Over minutes. Okay. Well, we have 275 square feet in 25 minutes. So 275 over 25. Now remember, the only thing that gets it divided by to get it to 1 is by itself, so we're going to divide by 25 to top and bottom, which is going to give me 1, and 275 divided by 25 is 11. So this tells me that for every 11 square feet, it takes 1 minute to make. It's pretty good. All right. If you have any questions about this, I know I'm going kind of fast, guys, but you've seen this. You've seen this during project time. This is why it is so important to pay attention during project time, because now you're going to be seeing things before you hit them on your playlist, and that's where you need to really be focused, okay? So we are going to skip these next 3. If you want to use them for practice, you can. 100%. Please do it. But otherwise, flip it over. We're going to start with proportions. Okay? So, a proportion. Well, what is a proportion? A proportion is a statement of two. I normally say equivalent, but equivalent just means equal. So 2 equal ratios. Okay, again, a ratio is comparing 2 quantities. So all this is saying is that it's just a statement of 2 equal comparisons. That's all it is. It is always written, in fraction form. Always. Do not forget that. Always written in fraction form. There are 3 ways you can solve a proportion. You can solve it as a strip diagram, which you saw them using the percent bars. Okay, they're always normally used with percents. You can use the strip bars for other things, but normally it's used with percents. The big H is really just an organizational method. It helps you organize your word problem to help you solve for the unknown. It's the best way. You can use this one for everything. And then there's the scale factor. The scale factor is just, and I know if you've had Miss Valadez, she really showed you how to use the scale factor. You'll use scale factor more in geometry and stuff like that. But scale factor is a number used to multiply or divide to stretch or shrink something. Normally shapes, objects, stuff like that. Okay? So if you don't know, this is the big H. I know you've all seen this. Okay? I know this for a fact, especially if you had myself, Miss Anderson, or Miss Valadez. This is what I call the hashtag. And if you notice, the difference between the big H and the hashtag is that there's an extra line right here. See? And you'll understand why in just a second. So when we're labeling it, the big H, the first column is always your labels. For example, what are you talking about? Are you talking about boys to girls? Are you talking about minutes to hours? Are you talking about... Okay, sorry about that again. Okay, so your labels are like your boys to girls. Whatever you're comparing is going to go right here. Now this, I always like to tell my kids, it's just your first ratio. The first ratio you're given goes right here. So for instance, if you have 1 boy for every 4 girls, it would be boys to girls and 1 to 4. And this is your unknown. What are you looking for? So it's always going to give you one of them, and you have to find the other one. Okay? Now, the difference for the big H and the hashtag is that with a hashtag, it gives you one of your comparisons. It'll give you boys or girls. And with a hashtag, it doesn't give you that. It gives you a total. So anytime you're looking for the total of something, you use the hashtag. Okay, so if it gives you, like, for example, if you have 300 students to, so it's students to teachers, and it's 300 to 1, that would be crazy, but 300 to 6. If you have a total of 400 employees, okay, well, that's a total, so you have to do the total to find the each of each one. And I'll show you an example, guys, okay? If that sounds confusing, you'll understand. So I definitely want you to do these with me, okay? So first, you're going to make a big H, okay? Always start with a big H, and then if you're given a total, you can just add the next line. So let's read it. At Morgan Elementary School, the ratio of boys to girls is 5 to 4. They will not always be this kind and give it to you like this, but for the most part. If there are 100 girls at school, how many boys are there? Okay, so we have the ratio is boys to girls. Well, there's my labels. Okay, so these are my labels. Here's my first ratio. And then, look at that. There's my one part of my unknown. So let's set it up. So we have boys to girls, because that's my labels, and it goes in order, boys to girls, so 5 to 4, and then it says 100 girls. Well, this is my girl column, so it's going to go right here, and this is my unknown. We don't know what that is, so we're going to put a question mark. Now, anytime you have equivalent ratios, equivalent means equal, and anytime you have an equal sign, you can cross multiply. So we're going to take 5 times 100, and we're going to put it equal to, we'll cross multiply the other way, 4 times question mark. Because we don't know what it is. We're trying to figure it out. So 5 times 100 is, of course, 500. And again, we don't know what this is. So now we got to find out what this is. Normally, we could say, okay, well, 4 times a number makes 500. That's very true. But the opposite of multiply is divide. So if I divide this number to both sides, that'll tell me what I need to multiply by. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to divide by 4 to both sides. Well, 4 divided by 4 is just 1. Okay. And 500 divided by 4 is 125. Guys, I already did the math ahead of time. If you need to take the time to actually divide it, you can. But I wanted to kind of make this a fast video for you. So, this means we found out that we have 125 boys. You got to make sure you know what you're talking about. For every 100 girls. If you notice, my ratio from boys to girls is big. My boys are bigger than my girls, so this should be the same way. And if you see, it is. Alright, let's move down to the next one. Again, we're going to make a hashtag until we find out. At Sullivan Middle School, the ratio of students to teachers is 20 to 1. If there are 40 teachers at the school, how many students are there? Okay, well, my labels are students to teachers. My first ratio is 20 to 1. And my unknown is 40 teachers. And it's going to go here because we're in the teacher column. And my question mark is there. So again, we cross multiply. That's 20 times 40 equals 1 times question mark. 20 times 40 is 800. And if I divide by 1, that's going to give me 800. And we're talking about how many students? So 800 students. Alright. So I'm going to skip number 5. We're going to go down to number 7. So I'm going to read it first. It says the 6th grade choir, in the 6th grade choir, the ratio of boys to girls is 1 to 3. If there are 48 students in the choir, how many are boys? How many are boys? Okay, so, well, if you notice, it doesn't give me boys or girls here. It gives me a total, which means we're going to have a hashtag, which will be our total here. And our total students would be 48. Okay? Now, my ratio is boys to girls. And the ratio, the first ratio is 1 to 3. Now, if you notice, we have a lot of empty boxes here. So the question is, if this is total, well, total means adding. So I can just go ahead and add these together to get this box right here. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Well, now I just do what I normally do. There's my question mark. Cross multiply. 3 times 48 equals, go the other way, 4 times question mark. Well, 48 times 3 is 144, and 4 question mark. Divide by 4, and my question mark, which is my unknown, equals 36. So that is 36 girls. If you notice, we're talking about girls. So that's not what it asked me, though. It wants to know how many boys. So that means I got to find this box right here. Now, there's several ways I can do this. I can go ahead and cross multiply and divide again. Or, guys, if I added 1 plus 3 to get 4, well, if I wanted to get 1, I would do the opposite of addition, which is subtraction. 4 minus 3 is 1. So I can just go here and go 48 minus 36 is 12. 12 boys. I hope this helps you. From here, there's some great practice problems with a couple games and stuff like that. Please proceed on and get your check for understanding done, and then you can move on from there. Y'all have a great day.